Greetings, everyone, and welcome to SpaceWeek Live for Sunday, what is this? Sunday, September 12th, 2021. You know what? Let me bump up the volume on my microphone a little bit. There we go. All right. Yes, welcome. So here we are again. After a quiet week a couple of weeks ago, things have really picked up. So let's get right into it. First of all, welcome, and as always, this is a live Q&A, so if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat. Just make sure to tag my name, rawspace, so that we're sure to see the questions, and they will be compiled, and I'll be able to answer them at the end. So last Tuesday, a Chinese Long March 4C launched the second Gaofen 5 hyperspectral imaging satellite for monitoring air pollution. Let's check that out. See that telltale hypergolic orange plume being emitted by the rocket there as it takes off. And by the way, those white panels that you see falling off, that's not ice. Those are insulation panels that are surrounding the payload fairing that are designed to fall off during the ascent. Then, let's see. At At 1:55 a.m. GMT on Thursday, September 9th, a smoke alarm sounded in the Zvezda module on the ISS during the automated recharging of the station's batteries. The crew woke up and reported, quote, the smell of burning plastic or electronic equipment, unquote, in the Russian segment, wafting over to the U.S. segment. Cosmonauts Oleg Novitsky and Pyotr Dubrov activated some air filters, waited until the air quality returned back to normal, and then went back to sleep. The source of the burning was never identified, but the crew is fine, and the ISS is not on fire. Per Roscosmos, all systems on the Russian segment are operating normally. So, little bit of adventure, but everything's okay now. A few hours later, the cosmonauts were ejected out the airlock. Actually, they weren't ejected, but they exited the airlock due to a planned spacewalk. Part of an 11 spacewalk series to outfit the newly delivered Nauka laboratory module, which famously had its thrusters fire when they weren't supposed to after it was docked, causing the space station to rotate about 45 degrees. This was a few weeks ago. But in any case, they were able to pick up the tasks that they were unable to complete last time because they had some difficulties and ran out of time. But they got all that done and made record time in their tasks this time around. But they have a lot more work to do. So the tasks this time included finishing running the Ethernet network cable that they had begun to route during the previous spacewalk, and then attaching it to the Nauka module. That's Ethernet cable running from the US segment over to Nauka, as well as a more installation of handholds and I think some other power connections. But yeah, so let's see. Also on Thursday, a Russian Soyuz 2.1V launched Cosmos 2551, also called Razbeg-1, an Earth observation satellite for the Russian military, into a sun-synchronous orbit from far northern Plesetsk Cosmodrome. Now, 2.1V is a rare variant of the Soyuz with no side boosters, and thus no Korolev cross on booster separation. Let's check that out. So that is a Soyuz, but it doesn't look very Soyuz-like because it doesn't have those four angled side boosters. I'd never seen one of those launch before, but there have been a few of them. I think like 8 total, something like that. But then on Thursday, a Chinese Long March 3B launched the ChinaSat 3B comsat, also called Zhongxing 9B, from Zhishan in southwest China. It's interesting to see the similarities between Chinese rocket designs and Russian rocket designs with those angled side boosters. I'm not aware of, at least certainly not in recent decades, of any U.S. rockets with that pattern of side booster thrust. There may have been, like back in the early days, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any. It's a very sort of Russian design with the side boosters angling out like that. All right. So, and I think China just sort of took that design and kind of ran with it. Then last night, a two-stage Terrier-improved Malamute suborbital sounding rocket launched from the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport on Wallops Island, Virginia, bearing a scientific data collection payload for the Department of Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration as part of the HOTSHOT program. HOT stands for High Operations Tempo. It's designed to collect information for nuclear security, of which we're not privy to the details. But the video of that was very brief, but here you go.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. +1. Lanyard strip. 2, 3, launch confirmed. 4, 5, 6. 7.
And that's all we get. The poor cameraman couldn't pan any higher, so that's what we were stuck with. Imagine he was cursing his tripod. But at least they live streamed it, which was cool. So thanks to Wallops for that. That one snuck up on us. I wasn't aware that that one was going up, or else I would have had a live stream for you. Then today, just earlier today, whoopsie, Japanese astronaut Aki Hoshide and French astronaut Thomas Pesquet ventured outside the ISS to, amongst other things, install the mounting adapter for the third IROSA solar array, which will be delivered on an upcoming Cargo Dragon flight. There's a Cargo Dragon currently docked to the station, but it did not bear any of the IROSAs. By the way, this is sped up, which is why the astronauts look like chipmunks. If you don't recall, the ISS Rollout Solar Arrays, or IROSAs, are new generation solar panels that are being mounted on top of the ISS's legacy solar arrays that will increase the station's power generation by up to 33%. And I apologize for not live streaming today's spacewalk. I only got to sleep last night at around 4 a.m. and I didn't notice my stream alarm at 6:30 at all. Like, it didn't even register in my subconscious. Let's see. In other news, NASA has announced that the Perseverance rover has collected core samples from the first 2 collection sites on Mars. Tens of samples will ultimately be collected and deposited at 1 or more cache sites on the Martian surface. A future mission will load the samples onto a return craft and blast off toward Earth so that the samples can be analyzed in state-of-the-art facilities, as well as stored for future generations to study using techniques and technologies that do not even exist yet. This is the first time that samples have been collected on another planet with the intention of returning them to Earth. We have, of course, retrieved samples from the Moon and a couple of different asteroids, but never another planet. Much bigger gravity well, hello, much bigger gravity well, much more complicated to return that sample. Now, satellites give us a unique perspective, far removed from the mud and muck of our terrestrial lives, and sometimes not so far removed. This is a picture of Hurricane Erin swirling majestically in the Atlantic off the U.S. East Coast. It's beautiful from a distance, though I wouldn't want to be in the middle of it. West of the storm are clear skies from the Chesapeake Bay up past Cape Cod. This image was captured by the Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectroradiometer, or MODIS, instrument on NASA's venerable Terra satellite. Its twin is on the Aqua satellite, orbiting more than 400 miles above us. It was taken on September 11th, 2001, 20 years ago yesterday. If we zoom in on New York City, we can see the sorry. If we zoom in on New York City, that's unexpected. We can see the ash-gray plume of smoke rising from the fallen Twin Towers. I'm sorry. So let's move on. One moment. So, yeah, sorry for that. Just kind of hit me out of nowhere. So let's move on to this week. A short time from now, and actually, let's see. Yes, a short time from now, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2030 GMT, a Hapith-1 hybrid propellant suborbital rocket from Taiwan Innovative Space, or TI Space, might conduct a test launch from Whalers Way Orbital Launch Complex in South Australia. It was originally supposed to launch back in 2019, but TI encountered opposition from the local indigenous community. The reported launch date and time is a little iffy, though, so we may have to wait and see if it actually happens today. In any case, there won't be a live stream. So, but it was interesting to see that on the schedule, and kudos to TI for providing yet another potential option for small satellite launches to low Earth orbit. On Monday, September 13th at 3:45 a.m. Eastern, 0745 GMT, a Chinese Long March 2C will launch the Yaogan 3202 military satellite. As is the norm for Chinese launches, there will not be a live stream. Let's see. What are you being sneaky down here? Oh, yes. Also on Monday at 11:55 p.m. Eastern, 0355 GMT, a SpaceX Falcon 9 will launch Starlink 30, also called Starlink 2-1. This will be the first dedicated Starlink launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, formerly Vandenberg Air Force Base, and these will be the first Starlink satellites with integrated laser data interlinks so they can talk to each other, rather than just with ground stations. So that'll be exciting. Then on Tuesday, September 14th at 2:07 p.m. Eastern, 1807 GMT, a Russian Soyuz 2.1B, orchestrated by Arianespace, will launch the OneWeb 10 mission with 34 more OneWeb satellites from Baikonur Cosmodrome. Live stream here on Ross Base. Then on Wednesday, September 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern, midnight GMT, on the 16th, The much anticipated SpaceX Inspiration4 mission might launch from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. I say might because there hasn't been definitive confirmation of the launch date and time yet that I've seen. There's no TFR yet for the launch on the FAA's website, but those sometimes don't show up until the day of, so they're not necessarily an indicator of whether a launch will go up or not ahead of time. The vehicle has been rolled out to the pad already, though, so Wednesday is probably the day. Inspiration4 will be the first fully civilian orbital spaceflight. Yes, rich space tourists have flown to orbit on Soyuz, but only as add-ons to government missions. Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin have carried civilians to the edge of space, but those flights were suborbital, and they never reached anywhere close to orbital velocity. The crew of Inspiration4 will consist of Jared Isaacman, the mission commander, benefactor, and founder of Shift4 Payments. In addition to being a successful businessman, Jared is also an accomplished jet pilot, holding several world records. Haley Arsenault, who represents the value of hope. She is a cancer survivor who was treated by and now works at St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Chris Sombrowski, representing the value of generosity. He was a U.S. Space Camp counselor and served in the Air Force in Iraq. And Dr. Cian Proctor, representing the value of prosperity. She's a geoscientist, explorer, and science communicator. Now, I don't have them queued up for you, but the images of the Inspiration4 vehicle show, interestingly, no Super Draco thrusters, which, you know what, I don't know if the wrong images were posted or what, but because supposedly the vehicle was used for the Crew 1 mission to the ISS, which of course was a Crew Dragon vehicle with windows and Super Draco thrusters providing launch abort capability. But the images I saw did not have any portholes, any windows in the vehicle, and did not have any Super Draco thrusters. It looked like a cargo dragon, so I think maybe the wrong image was posted. But SpaceX has stated, or Inspiration4 has stated, that this vehicle was previously used for the Crew 1 mission, and so I think it was just that the wrong images were posted, because the Crew 1 Crew Dragon vehicle does in fact have windows and and Super Draco thrusters. In addition, SpaceX has outfitted the vehicle with a cupola window in the where the ISS docking port would be, like where the nose cone pops up, providing a great big window for the occupants to see through. And the Inspiration4 mission is planned to orbit, I think, for 3 or 4 days, and then land safely in, I think, in the Gulf or the Atlantic. But very exciting. And I'm sorry I don't have a absolute firm time for you. That 8 p.m. on Wednesday is when it's currently targeted for, but we'll have to stay tuned for any changes to that schedule. So that is it for the coming week. I would like to take a moment to thank and welcome our newest channel member, Rawstronaut Rubens Almeida from Brazil. So I'm not going to try to pronounce anything. I can type in Brazilian a few different words, but I'm not going to try to pronounce them because I'll just butcher them. But thank you and welcome. Now on to your questions. Let's see what we got. I misread that. So Mark Desire said it's regarding the smoke alarm on the ISS. He said it's still alarming raw space, no known cause. I interpreted that as it's still, the alarm is still sounding, but that, no, the alarm was taken care of when they filtered the air and scrubbed the whatever smoke was in the air. But yeah, it is a little disconcerting that there was something burning on the ISS briefly that produced a plastic smell or an electronic smell. Where there's smoke, there's fire. That's the old saying, and it's true. I mean, something was burning, and that definitely should not have been. And while all systems seem to be operating normally now, it's still concerning that something was amiss. There have actually been a number of concerns expressed about the state, particularly of the Russian segment of the space station, as those systems continue to age. Many of them being over 22 years old now, and in a state of less than perfect repair. But we'll see what happens. If who knows, maybe the Russian segment will have to be jettisoned at some point, and and the U.S. segment will be all that remains of the station. But we shall see. Iwo Wisnowski asks, what happens to a Delta 5 Heavy stages after drop? You mean Delta 4 Heavy? What happens to the Delta 5 Heavy stages after drop? So currently the only reusable rocket stage in production in the world is SpaceX Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy first stages. There are, Rocket Lab has been working on their capture, their like parachute recovery and capture of Electron first stages, but that's not been used in production yet. So other rockets and other stages, even the Falcon second stages, are discarded. The first stages, they just fall and either splash down in the ocean or rain down across the landscape, as happens in Kazakhstan, Russia, and China. Second stages mostly burn up in the atmosphere. They're targeted for Point Nemo in the Pacific so that they come down in a region which is unpopulated, but sometimes they come down elsewhere, like we saw earlier. Was it earlier this year in March, I think? There was a Falcon 9 second stage that deorbited over Oregon and Washington. It didn't harm anyone, but it came down over land, which was unintentional and not ideal. But one moment, please. Sorry about that. So Mark Desire says the spacewalk just ended. They're back inside and ready to exit the airlock. So that live stream is just ending now, I guess, a few minutes ago. But yeah, that's the one I missed. So I can't catch them all, but I do try. If you want to watch the replay of that spacewalk, it's available on NASA's channel. It's not much point in me downloading it just to re-upload it on mine, so go for it. Let's see. New Apollo, Jeff Bezos' $500 million yacht is also reusable. Yes, I think it is. All right. Okay, it looks like we're light on questions this week, which is okay. But thank you all for coming. And I look forward to seeing you in the next live stream. And hopefully Inspiration4 does get off the ground this Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that big time. I don't know if they'll do end-to-end coverage or what exactly they're going to do, but whatever coverage there is, I will have a facsimile of it for you right here on Raw Space that you can enjoy and chat in our cozy little environment. So until next time, take care, keep it raw, and bye-bye.